Good morning and welcome back to Zandvoort here in the Netherlands for the final race in the GB3 Championship here this weekend. It's the reverse grid race, which always throws up a lot of excitement. I'm John Jackson, Piers Pryor alongside me here, and yesterday was all about Alex Dunn for High-Tech Pulse 8. 2 wins back in Spa, 2 wins here at Zandvoort. He's absolutely killing it in Europe, isn't he?
Absolutely on fire. Yesterday he was pretty much untouchable. His only blemish on his copy sheet was the fact that he didn't get the second fastest lap time in qualifying. Mackenzie Cresswell started on pole, but he didn't have that lead for very long until Alex Dunn overtook him into turn 1 and then drove away once again. 2 wins for Alex Dunn in emphatic fashion.
Yeah, he's really closed up the gap between him and the championship lead. But let's first of all remind ourselves, before we talk more about the championship permutations, what happened yesterday here at Zandvoort in race 2.
Highlights from round 20, the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC, the second race here at Zandvoort, and this time it was Mackenzie Cresswell starting from pole position, but look at the start from Alex Dunn on the inside. A great ones in the background for the likes of Timit Kuharczyk as well as Joseph Loke, who got down the inside into the first corner, and Nico Christodoulou. A couple of lockups from those in the pack though, and plenty of 3 wide in the background, including a little bit of an issue for Jack Sherwood. Contact with himself with Mavliatov would unfortunately break the front left off of his car, and he'd slow down in the background. Plenty of side-by-side up ahead of all of this though. Joseph Loke getting slowed down by Nico Christodoulou. The number 4 of James Headley would go straight down the inside and up into 4th position. Meanwhile, Burski was trying to get past Callum Voisin. A safety car would come out once we got back going underway. It was a great restart from Alex Dunn. A lock-up on the front right would slow his intentions down at the first corner, but nothing too major. Headley would go out wide as we'd take a look at a replay as to why the safety car came out. Jack Sherwood having a couple of issues with that front left. He'd pull it over to the left-hand side, and that would cause that safety car. But the race will be back underway. It was, of course, a comfortable lead from Alex Dunn. It was less comfortable for those in the background. Jared Bulberski trying to take 7th place off of Matthew Rees. He'd go out wide after being squeezed off and would drop back into the pack. Unfortunately, further issues for him in the race would cause his retirement. Big move down the inside of his championship rival. Callum Voisin would work his way through to take over 5th position. Meanwhile, it was Alex Dunn riding hot at the front of the field, taking his 2nd victory at Zandvoort.
Well, with that win, Alex Dunn's actually overtaken Joseph Loke now. Joseph Loke was 2nd in the championship coming into this round at Zandvoort, but Alex Dunn is now 2nd behind Callum Voisin. And I mean, it's gone exactly the way Alex Dunn would have wanted, but for Callum Voisin, it's been a little bit of a tricky weekend and probably not what he wanted going into Donington next week.
Absolutely not what Callum would have wanted. He was probably breathing a sigh of relief at Brands Hatch when unfortunately Alex Dunn had that issue which gave him a DNF, because Voisin's lead was looking quite tasty at that point. But Alex Dunn has done so well to claw back a 42-point advantage, less than 10 points now. So it's coming together very nicely for you viewers at home and for us watching on.
Yeah, it really has. Basically, the pack has been completely bunched up, which means going into Donington, it's going to be a really thrilling weekend. Actually, you caught up with Callum Voisin yesterday, just after those 2 races. So here's what happened when Piers went to the Roden Carlin awning.
So I've made my way down to Roden Carlin and grabbed our championship leader, I think, still. It's very, very tight in the points. A difficult qualifying yesterday, we touched on that yesterday, of course. But still some solid points, and you're still, I believe, depending on how things go, in the leader championship.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tricky day yesterday. Obviously not the qualifying that we wanted. Got a little bit of damage after some contact early on in the qualifying, which is not ideal and not something that usually happens. But yeah, we had good pace in the car. I think we showed that in both races. Coming through the field. So very happy with that. But yeah, let's see what we can do in race 3. I think it's going to be carnage as it usually is, especially around the tight and twisty circuit like this, but no, I'm excited. It should be good.
That's a theme I've been hearing from quite a lot of the drivers after race 2, is that they were looking ahead to race 3 thinking, well, I'll just stay out of trouble at the start because then everything's going to get backed up because of a safety car. Is that what the sort of the consensus is, that it's likely to be a safety car after lap 1?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish I had my crystal ball so I could tell you, but no, I'm not sure. I think, but yeah, it's going to be a tough one. No, as I said, it should be exciting, and this track's always fun to drive. So yeah, no, it should be good.
And then a quick word on the championship itself. It's looking excellent for us viewers at home, because you started the weekend with a nice little buffer, but obviously with that issue in qualifying and Alex Dunn winning both races, it sort of closed it up so that kind of no one's really pulled away. Loke's got close to you, but Alex has also got close to the both of you. Very, very close. Does that really come into your mind when you're on circuit, or are you literally just like, right, one race, one corner, one session at a time?
Look, yeah, after Brands Hatch, we did have a nice-ish buffer, but I guess that's why you have those buffers, is for to account for days like these when you don't have let's say the luck on your side or whatever. So yeah, it's important to get those I guess buffers and stuff like that when you can, and make sure you grab every opportunity that comes to you. But no, look, championship-wise, obviously it's not ideal for me. I'm sure it's great for the viewers, but we're still in the lead, I believe. So yeah, that's all you can really hope for.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, final word, we've seen you make some moves this weekend. You're going to need to make some moves in race 3. Is it going to be, once that safety car after lap 1's done, are you going to be trying to pick them off one by one?
Yeah, for sure, that's the goal. I think I definitely need to maximise race 3, considering I'm starting ahead of my, I guess, main competition. But look, we'll see how it gets on. Race 3, you can never plan anything in motorsport. So yeah, let's see.
Callum, we look forward to seeing how you get on in that one. We're looking forward to a championship decider at Donington. Thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you.
Callum Boyce in there speaking with you, Piers, and a very mature answer. We've commented on how mature Callum's been all throughout this year. Obviously, he was a first-year driver last year with Carlin, as it was known. Now this year rode in Carlin, and he's come back and he's really pushed on. And I think the second-year drivers coming to this part of the championship, they've already been there, they've already kind of seen what it's like to finish a championship. A lot of these drivers, will come from other single-seater championships, but some come from karts. We've seen drivers like Kean Shields before that came from karts last year.
Arthur Rojan this year.
Yeah, exactly. So, but for Callum Boyce, he's been at the business end of a season before. I know he wasn't in title contention, but he'll kind of know the feeling going into that last race.
Any experience you've got over your competitors is useful. However, most of these drivers, as you pointed out, have been in a championship fight and towards the front of a championship fight in other series, whether that be in either the lower single-seater formula, other car racing, or even karting. Most of these drivers are all very accomplished in their career already. But of course, every level up you go, the pressure builds, the importance is greater. But yeah, it's how the drivers deal with the pressure in the races is going to be the deciding factor, especially when it's this close for the top 3.
We also get drivers who will stick with one team throughout their progression, and we've seen that with Alex Dunn. He stayed with High Tech Pulse 8. Also, Callum Boyson's done the same. But, other drivers will mix it up. James Headley's moved teams a few times. We've seen Jack Sherwood, who's on the grid this weekend, trying out the GB3 car, move teams a couple of times. But for Callum Boyson, he's got that security that he's been in the Carlin family for a little while. And we actually caught up with his boss, Trevor Carlin, a man who travels around the world several times a year, following all his different championships, and it was nice for him to find some time to chat to Piers last night.
Down at Road in Carlin once again, and I've grabbed team principal, team owner,
whatever,
Trevor Carlin. Trevor, we've spoken to Callum a number of times this weekend and this season. Of course, he's doing very, very well, still leading the championship, but it's very close. But the team have also put a lot of effort in behind the scenes and also in your other championships as well.
Yeah, we do tons of championships, as people probably know, and we've just come on the back of winning the British F4 Championship last weekend with Lewis Sharp, and the Teams Championship, so we're quite pleased. This one's going to go down to the wire, I think, again at Donington, but that's the nature of GB3. It's so competitive. Personally, I think any 4 drivers could win it, and we're still in with a hunt, so fingers crossed.
And Callum, of course, he's done a lot of work with your team in the past, but he also had a go in one of your other cars recently.
Yeah, he drove our FIF3 car, and to be honest, he was sensational. We went to Jerez for the first test, and for the first 2 hours of the test, he was P2. He was P2 quickest, and we had Zane Maloney, one of our F2 drivers out there, doing a bit of running. And actually in the high-speed corners, Callum was actually a little bit quicker than Zane, so we were really impressed. It shows great transition from GB3 into other categories, especially in high-speed corners.
And that's exactly what I was about to touch on. Of course, GB3 is another step on the ladder, and these drivers, exactly like Callum in your position and your other drivers, of course, John and Costa, will be looking to hopefully move up. And it's good that you've got that sort of linearity with your team being able to potentially even advance drivers all the way from, as you mentioned, other championships through GB3 and all the way up to Formula 1 potentially. Yeah,
we can take the lads basically from karting and all the way up to knocking on the door of Formula 1. We don't quite do Formula 1 yet.
Maybe in the future, who knows? But anyway, Trevor, thanks for chatting to us, and we'll see how the remaining championship goes. It's going to be a good watch for us at home, at least. Maybe it'll make it a bit more nervous for you.
A bit nervous. Thanks, Piers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
The big boss man there, the man whose name adorns those cars, Trevor Carlin from Road in Carlin. Piers, it's great to chat to the team bosses, and you know, for a team boss at this part of the year where you've got one of your drivers in title contention, it must be a pretty nerve-wracking time because, you know, you want to attract new drivers to the championship, and obviously there's a lot of teams to choose from, and obviously we know, you know, kids are testing at the moment with different teams. If you're a championship winning team, that's going to attract some of the better drivers, right?
Yes, it will, and of course it's going to be a bit nerve-wracking, and Trevor said, you know, sometimes he gets a bit nervous, but, you know, he's done it so many times in so many championships. It's a yearly thing for him, and especially the Carlin team and other well-established teams. They've been around for 10, I think 20 years, I think, for Carlin or something like that at least. So, you know, they know what they're in for, they know what they're doing. They're always at the front, so they have championship battles every year, but that's what brings their good drivers to their team.
Yeah.
It gives them the opportunity to, you know, have a premium service for their drivers.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're watching some Fiestas go around the track now just before this GB3 race. Looking around, Piers, compared to yesterday, a lot colder this morning, a little bit earlier this race than we were yesterday. Some rain in the air. I mean, it looked pretty gloomy about 10 minutes ago. It's brightened up a little bit now, but there's always that threat of rain. In a reverse grid race, rain is probably the last thing you want, given the chaotic nature of some of the driving, as the faster drivers look to overtake as many cars as possible.
Yeah, chaotic nature is right, and we heard from quite a few of the drivers that they're saying, well, race 3, there's going to be a safety car at the end of that one. You know, that's what they're planning for. They think it's going to happen, and especially with the changeable weather. I mean, since the last few minutes since we've been up here, we've had the sun's out, it's darkened skies, started raining, the wind's picked up. Anything could happen weather-wise. The one saving grace to a certain extent is that the fact that the drivers have had wet and dry running and testing all week, because it's been changeable pretty much all week.
Yeah, well, let's take a closer look at the track here at Zandvoort, and then we'll ride on board with Alex Dunn, the man of the weekend so far.
Well, the circuit Zandvoort being the penultimate trip for us in 2023 and our second trip abroad. A tricky circuit with a lot of undulation, the likes of Tarzan at the first corner, of course, Shivlak down at turn 6, being extremely difficult and high-speed corners. The run around the back end of the circuit as they go around turn 7 and then into this 9 and 10 sequence. Really tricky hairpins, but you've got to get 10 right with this short shoot down towards this chicane into hairpin section, the penultimate part of the racetrack. Good for overtaking, but you have to be brave to do so. It tightens up an awful lot into the high banking of the Arie Luijendijk Bok and out onto the start finish straight once again. It is not a particularly long circuit at just 2.6 miles, about 4.3k in local money. It is a tricky one though all the way around, less so because of the undulation, more so because of those high banks. With it being such a short circuit, we'll see a lot of laps of racing, but a lot of opportunities into turn 1 don't normally necessitate a strong move. 14 turns, all of them being extremely difficult and high speed. Of course, one of the fastest circuits, a grade 1 circuit by the FIA. Not too much in terms of that undulation, almost masked by the fact of the high banks all the way around the circuit, particularly in Arie Luijendijk, but of course you get plenty in turn 3 and you get plenty in Tarzan. It is a tricky test, especially in the difficult conditions that we see here at Circuit Zandvoort.
Let's ride on board a lap of the Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit with our fastest qualifier, Alex Dunn. Braking very hard and late into turn 1 Tarzan corner. Hug the inside and then use all of the curb on the exit, potentially a little too much on this lap. Then a quick flick through turn number 2 to set ourselves up for 3, the newly profiled banked corner. All of the road in the middle of the corner, staying to the edge of the circuit on the exit. Then completely flat out through the kinks of 4 and 5. It's all about setting ourselves up now for Shivlak. Over a crest, sun is blinding at this point. Just a lift here. Roll the speed to the middle of the corner and again right up to the curb on the exit. Then we flick our way through turn number 8. Very high minimum speed there. Watch the curb on the exit, it can drag you off the circuit. Then turn number 8 is all about minimum speed. Keep that minimum speed nice and high, and then we flick our way to the right-hand side of the circuit to open up turn 10. This exit will be very important in the race. Get a poor exit out of here, and you'll be very, very vulnerable into the final sector. Straight line braking for turn number 11, using all the curb on the right-hand side as we turn in, and then keep it nice and narrow in the middle of turn 12. Only one more real corner to go now. Just a short break and keep the minimum speed as high as possible. The exit is also very important here as we're running now back onto the banked run onto the start-finish straight. That was a lap on board our fastest qualifier, Alex Dunn, around the Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit at our second flyaway race this year.
Well, that was a lap around the track here at Zandvoort. A lot sunnier. The sun was out during that lap. The sun could come out during this race. We'll have to see. But Piers, this is the kind of time of year where a lot of young drivers are working out what they're doing next. We've already heard from Callum Voisin, who was talking about, the fact he was doing his FIA F3 test earlier this week, and Trevor, I know, was facilitating that. I'm very keen to see what Callum could do in that car. Also, Max Esterson's been over there doing a bit of testing in Spain. But also GB4 drivers are looking at what they can do. We obviously have two drivers on the grid from the we have Jack Sherwood, who's was in GB4 last year, very, very competitive. He's looking to see whether he wants the GB3 next year. And actually, Piers caught up with another young driver from the GB4 Championship this year, who's over supporting his Fortec teammates. And this is what happened when he caught up with Colin Queen.
While walking around trying to grab a word with some of the GB3 drivers, we bumped into current GB4 driver, very successful GB4 driver, Colin Queen. Colin, of course, you're here supporting our Fortec teammates. It must be pretty cool to be in Zandvoort with the team.
Oh, it definitely is. I haven't been in Europe since 2018, so the visit Amsterdam yesterday, and then train here to the beach, to the circuit. It's great. I'm definitely enjoying my time here. Just watching the racing on the sidelines. Obviously, I want to be in the car, but it's a good relaxation before race weekend next week.
Must be good to get sort of a bit of an inside line and a bit of an inside word from the drivers here, what they're saying, what they're talking about, the way they work, because I'm sure that the aspirations might be GB3 in the future as current GB4 driver.
Definitely. It's great to learn from all these guys, from the engineers to the drivers, and the more experience I have, now, even before I even get in the car, the better. So.
And of course, GB3, you're racing in GB4. It must be pretty cool to watch them, because there's a big step up, isn't it? And I assume you're hoping to be potentially in GB3 in the future. Who knows?
No, definitely. That's definitely a possibility for us. And we had such a great year so far, just experiencing the first year in single seaters. Well, not single seaters, slicks and wings. And I feel like I am ready for the next step. I just need to do a bit of testing and see where it goes from there.
Well, hopefully you can get on one of these GB3 cars very soon. Colin, thanks for chatting to us. Good to see you here at the weekend.
Thank you, Piers.
Great to see Colin over here in the Netherlands, checking out what's going on in the GB3 Championship. Obviously, he'll be potentially looking at what he can do in the GB3 Championship next year if that's what he chooses to do. And obviously, I guess if you've done GB4 with Fortec or you've done it with another team, it's most likely you'll probably stay with them, I would imagine, if you're getting on with that team.
If you're getting on with the team, it works well because you know a lot of the guys, you've got a good rapport, you don't have to build up that relationship. And especially if you're in with a team as experienced as Fortec, for example, then Colin will be well placed because we know Fortec can be right up there when everything's going well. Fortunately, Fortec this season have really struggled, but we saw last year with Joel Grandforce that they can really put a championship challenge on, and Colin will be hoping to do that next year if he does end up signing for GB3.
There was also Mikael Grunwig last year in the reverse grid races, who was great for Fortec as well. And we talk about Fortec, but also Arden VRD have a sort of similar situation, but it's even sort of more closed in because you have Noah Ping and we have his brother Zach Ping competing in GB4. And I mean, what an amazing thing to do, to come over from the United States of America and race in two championships together. And maybe we'll see Zach move up one day into GB3. But Noah Ping's had a little bit of a tricky weekend, hasn't he? And you caught up with him, Piers, after what was a tricky day for him yesterday.
Noah Ping. Noah, Arden VRD seems to have a really good car this weekend. Your teammates are right up there. You've been up there with them pretty much all season, but I think qualifying just didn't quite go to plan, did it?
Yeah, yesterday didn't quite work out for us. I didn't put my sectors together, put a lap together, if I'm being honest. We were really quick in testing, me especially, so it's unfortunate that I didn't put it together in quali, but we had a good couple races. The second race was probably my best, going from 18th to 12th, which was good, but I'd rather be starting up front with him, so a bit bittersweet, and looking forward to Donington for sure in this race 3.
Hey, we're not done with the weekend yet, mate. We've still got a reverse grid to go, and I want you to tell me about that reverse grid.
Yeah.
Your qualifying didn't go so well, which of course hampered your chance for a good result in 1 and 2. But the flip side, you're actually quite a lot further up the field than a lot of the people that you're potentially quicker than.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the goal is obviously eyes forward today. And it might rain. We're not really sure. There's some clouds in the sky. So if it rains, I know we're quick again. So it's just really whatever condition, I know we're fast, and it's just about keeping my eyes forward and hitting my marks.
Eyes forward and hitting your marks. Noah, thanks for chatting to us. Sounds like you've got a plan ahead, and we'll see how you get on in race 3.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Well, from one ping to another. However, this is not Noah Ping's car. This is actually Pat Huizenrode, who is on pole position for this race. It's only his third GB3 race as he comes and tests out this car and sees how he likes the GB3 Championship. Hopefully he's had a good time so far. It's going to be an interesting one, Piers, because starting on pole position when you are relatively new to the series is... There's a lot of pressure on you. You need to get a good start because, behind you, although it's a reverse grid race, we've got, people like Daniel Mavlatov, who's won 3 races already this season. Jack Sherwood also behind, who's starting his 3rd race in the GB3 car, having been in the GB4 car last year. You've got some fast drivers behind you, so you're going to have to get a good start and not make a mistake, otherwise you could quite easily drop back quite quickly.
Yeah, this is probably also his first race start in this car on wet tyres in the wet conditions as well, so he's going to have one practice go out on the grid with cold wet tyres, and then he'll get to the grid with hopefully decently warm wet tyres, and that'll be it. And if he can get away at the front, he's got a good chance of a good result, Pat Huizenrode. It'd be good to see a new driver get a good result. We're now looking at Jack Sherwood, of course, our GB4 driver from last year with some excellent manoeuvres, and the wet weather at this Zandvoort circuit hopefully is going to open up some opportunities for overtaking, and I think it will.
Well, you'd say there was a good chance for Jack, if he's got to grips with this car, to potentially, be on the podium, but also potentially maybe even get a victory, because we saw what he could do in the wet last year in the GB4 car, and certainly knows what he's doing. So yeah, good for him. We're now looking at Sean Rashid. We just actually met Sean Rashid's parents over from Atlanta, Georgia, so hello to anyone watching back home in the United States of America. Big up to them, and they come over for a little bit of a double header as we have Donington Park next weekend. Let's quickly talk, Piers, as we take a look at some of the other cars, about the penalty that's come through. And
yes,
this is something that happened not long ago now, and that is relating to race 2.
Yes, race 2. There was actually apparently 16 investigations for different infringements throughout race 2, but the only action that was taken was that the move that Callum Voisin made into turn 3 on Joseph Lope, which was somewhat decisive for championship point-wise, has basically been reversed. The stewards, or the clerk of the course, decided after reviewing all the onboard footage and all the evidence that was available that Callum Voisin did indeed pass Joseph Lope while leaving the circuit, so a one-place penalty has been applied to Callum Voisin, which basically means he finishes where he was before he overtook Lope. So not a massive change, but just something to note back at home, which means that the championship is actually even closer than it once was.
Yeah, so basically Callum Voisin now has a 4-point lead over Alex Dunn at the top of the championship, I believe.
Then it's 3 points over Lope or something ridiculous.
So it's 4 points. Incredibly close. So it's going to be interesting to see how the points look after this race with the reverse grid race. Obviously you're making points up for every car you overtake as well. Let's keep walking along, because this is a great opportunity to look at some of the cars that maybe we haven't seen so far, because we've been a little bit too far towards the front of the grid. And you, Piers, you think that Noah Ping, who's on the left here, who we heard from just a short while ago, you think that Noah Ping has a really good chance here because he's a very quick driver?
Yeah, I think Noah Ping has got, if it stays wet, which it very much is going to stay wet as far as I'm aware, as much as I think the guys in the front 4 or 5 have a good chance and they get a good start, I think Noah Ping potentially is going to have the pace over pretty much everyone else around him on the grid. He's out of position. We know the Arden VRD cars are quick around here, and they were quick in the wet testing as well. Noah Ping was also right up with his teammates, but unfortunately, the only reason he's up as high as he is on the grid in this reverse grid race is because qualifying didn't go the way he wanted it to, so he's further down. But that means he's away from the rest of the fastest drivers at the back of the field, and I think that means that if he gets a decent start and at least holds position on the first lap, I think I can see him carving his way through the field to at least a podium, if not a win, because he's probably got in my eyes, the best pace of anyone in this area of the grid.
Yeah, we're now looking at the car of Edward Pearson, the Fortec car, and wasn't a great first race for him. He'll be hoping to get up there and make up a few places, and there's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't as well. It's one of those things where, I think we might be actually going. Are we getting a whistle to go? I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of whistles going on here. Normally at the track we get a whistle when we're ready to go. So far we've had more whistles than the game of rugby we watched last night. But this is Costa Taparis, of course, one of 2 Australian drivers now, with Pat on pole position here. So this is one of the Rodin cars. Go on, Piers, go and have a little chat with Costa.
Yeah, Costa, can we have a quick word just for the telly? Yeah. Costa, of course, you've got the reverse grid now. You're fairly high up the grid. We know that this car's got, you've got good pace and this car's got good pace in the wet. Can you move forward from here?
Yeah, I think for sure. Obviously, conditions are very mixed out there, a bit wet, but hopefully it can go forward and end the race in a good position. It'll be good.
We've spoken to quite a lot of the drivers this weekend, and they were reckoning that race 2, the chances of, or race 3, the chances of a safety car is pretty high. What do you reckon?
Oh yes, the track design is quite unique, especially in that first sector. So, unfortunately, I think we will see a safety car and maybe a red flag in the first couple of laps.
Hopefully it's nothing to do with you and you can make advantage of it. But anyway, thanks for chatting to us, Costa. Good luck in race 3. It's quite nice leaning on the car there. It's quite warm, actually. I might just go and interview some more drivers, John.
Well, look, we'll take a look at some of the other cars while I just very quickly look at my watch and see what the temperature is. Oh, great, I don't have any signal. That's the problem with data roaming, as we are in the Netherlands. But it was around about 9 degrees when we first got to the track this morning. It can't be too much more than that, maybe 10 or 11 right now. And we're looking at the car of Max Esterson here, another one of the United States drivers. And actually, if we just pan up, and this is a sort of an indirect thing to the cameraman here, if we just pan up, we can actually see a big black cloud behind the car of Max Esterson as the rain starts to come down
literally
now.
Just starts to come down.
I was going to ask you, you talk to me.
Yeah, I was saying that you just had a picture there of a Max Esterson. Max Esterson is actually, I think, the only driver on the grid that uses glasses inside his helmet. So Max will be hoping that those glasses can stay fog-free as much as possible, because that, in these conditions inside the helmet with the visor shut, your breath can steam up anything in there. A lot of the drivers will have double layer visors. This is really quite grim, actually.
Should we walk towards that really nice looking tent over there? Yeah, let's do that. So the rain starts coming down now, as you might be able to tell. I was going to say, Max Esterson is one of those drivers also that's been pretty nifty in the Formula Ford cars.
Yeah.
And those cars are often being raced later in the year when the conditions are a bit less favourable like this. So that would be good experience for him to drive in these conditions.
Yeah, exactly. I think the fact that Max Esterson's got a lot of Formula Ford means that he's a lot used to making the most of the mechanical grip. And of course, these cars have mechanical grip, but they have very heavily rely on aerodynamic grip. And we're just literally hiding from the rain because it's absolutely throwing it down. This is going to make it very interesting.
I've got to, at this point, do a shout out to our cameraman Cameron, who is still braving the conditions here. He can absolutely come in the dry, I would think. Let's come in the tent with us. Come in the tent with us.
We're saving the equipment. He's going to have to duck underneath. There we go.
Oh, look at that. I enjoyed that Cam. That was fantastic. Yeah, I was going to say, when you're a young driver, getting experience driving in different conditions is probably invaluable for moments like this.
Yeah, and to be honest, if it keeps raining like this for any longer than about a minute or two, I think we might have a delayed start, because this is seriously heavy and puddles will be falling or forming around the circuit and rivers as well. We'll keep you posted on that as we get any updates, but I'm literally looking at the mechanics picking up their tool bags and pouring water out of them at the moment. The drivers will also have umbrellas over the top of them to stop any water getting in the cockpit, but it's quite unpleasant because often the water kind of drips down your back in these. You end up with like a really damp back.
Yeah, you don't want that at all. I always ask when it's really hot, is it horrible to be in the car when it's hot? But I imagine it's probably worse actually to be in a car when it's filling with water. Yeah. I've also got to shout out, we all shout out the marshals because they do some great work, and I don't know how it works here in the Netherlands, but certainly in the UK they're all volunteers. I don't know the fella's name, but the guy that's been looking after the cars here as one of the head marshals here has been absolutely fantastic, and obviously they will be making sure everyone is as safe as possible. And it's kind of hard in these conditions, and weirdly, because we're in a tent, we can kind of tell when it's raining or not. It's kind of easing off a little bit now. And I was going to ask you a little bit earlier on whether, let's just stand out of the way here, whether when there's standing water, what is the problem? Is it standing water, or is it actually the rain coming down which impairs vision?
Yeah, it's a bit of both really. With the single seaters you see in Formula One, the spray that comes up is an issue, and if there's too much water, of course the cars bring up too much spray, and it is genuinely like thick fog. You can't see anything, and when you're going flat out 140, 150 miles.
I'm not laughing at you, Piers. Sorry, there are some people that you're going to talk to right now who are watching on the live stream and showing us on a rather large phone. Let's go and Piers, go and chat to them.
Guys, who are you here supporting, or are you just here for the to watch?
I'm here to watch.
And yourself?
For me, for Rob.
I'm here for Rossi, but he is not racing, so he will in the afternoon.
Brilliant, of course. Thanks for chatting to us. They're here for the GT World Challenge, but they've also got us on their phone as well.
He's also got the largest phone I think I've ever seen. Look, here we go. Look, we can look. It's like Inception. It's like we're in a movie here. If you've written an offensive comment, please delete that immediately, because that will be on the screen there. And obviously it won't be offensive because you're all absolutely loving what's going on here.
And of course, if you're watching on the live stream, you can comment, as you saw coming in there.
Yeah.
You have to subscribe to the MSV TV YouTube channel, but give us a subscribe and then let us know what you're thinking.
Leave this chap a comment. We've got to just talk about the fact that he's obviously wearing a Red Bull coat there. Very clever to bring a coat around here. He must be local. He must know what the weather's like. But we've seen. I've just been past the Red Bull Lounge. There is so much that is basically, it's like Max Verstappen world. If there was a theme park that was centered around one particular driver, it's like Max Verstappen world here. We've got a mural of his car, we've got the Red Bull Lounge, we've got pictures of him everywhere.
There's a big round thing with like loads of banners on the entrance to the circuit, all Max Verstappen.
Yeah, one of the chaps I was chatting to yesterday, just between races, said that he came out of the hotel and literally on every floor of the local hotel, which is literally opposite the track here, there's a picture of Max Verstappen. On every corner you go on, it's like you're being watched by Max Verstappen. And I think he jokingly suggested that he hadn't quite seen enough pictures of Max Verstappen, and they just laughed at him, because I think they absolutely love him around here. There's also a house that we saw that's opposite the local supermarket, and it's like, I reckon Max's #1 fan must live there, because there's banners in the window. I'm pretty sure it's probably like Max Verstappen Cottage or something like that, and it is crazy to see how much they've embraced him here. But it's good to know that he's so popular, he's got such a legacy.
Oh, it is good to see the enthusiasm in Zandvoort and the Netherlands has been buoyed by, of course, the Grand Prix coming here. But it's good that we're out, so we get to race on again another Grand Prix circuit. This with Zandvoort being an addition to the GB3 Championship this year, and I believe it's I don't know if it's official, but hopefully we'll come again next year. Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully so. Now the red flag has just changed now, Piers, to a flashing black and yellow flag. As a driver yourself, please tell me what that means.
It's not black and yellow. It's that you'll see on the side of the circuits as a square boards, and they do flashing for if it's waved yellows. So it's like corners.
That's a virtual waved yellow.
Yeah.
Look, we've all learned something today.
Yeah.
It's all very clever.
But I don't know if you can see that in the flag or the light board in the distance, but that's something that have been added to circuits, all across the world in the last few years, which I think is a really, really good safety addition, because previously when it was just flags, if there's a lot of spray or the visibility isn't great or it's darker, then it's hard to see flags. But if you've got a light like that, it really pierces through, and it's just a way for the race directors to be able to get that information about safety or race information to the drivers in the best way possible. And that's why they're Grade 1 circuits, and it's great that we've got that, because it's not only the drivers and the cars and everything improving, but the circuits as well.
Yeah, well, we can see, obviously, there are people waving yellow flags. You won't be able to see it from here, but way more visible with that really bright sign there. We were hoping to get outside. It is still raining pretty heavily, but I think we're going to be going out fairly soon. So let's see if we can venture outside. There are umbrellas still up, as you can see. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not pleasant. If I was playing golf in this weather, I'd be hiding under the nearest tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. It's certainly okay to race. You can see the chap actually, the marshal in the background here with the fisherman's hat on, I'd call it. Big, I've given a shout out. This is the chap that's been looking after everyone, and I have to say that yeah, it's raining really heavily again now. So we're going back in the tent. Cameraman Cam can do what he likes. We'll just talk about what he's looking at. But we can see some of the other cars from one of the other races coming in here now, and we should be heading out for the GB3 Championship finale this weekend. Here in the Netherlands in just a second. But I mean, when you're driving like this, it's not nice to have a bit of clear sky and then suddenly dump it down again with rain.
It's going to be hard for the teams as well, because the teams set the tyre pressures in these wet conditions. Even oh my God, the rain's really coming down.
I've got to say, message to cameraman Cam, please come inside the tent. Here he comes.
Well, we're just talking about tyre pressures. The teams will set the tyre pressures of the wet tyres based on how wet they think it's going to be.
Yeah.
The wetter they think it's going to be, the higher they'll put the pressures up, because that gets more heat in the tyres, then get a bit more grip. But if it dries out, then they generally go a bit lower on the pressures, because the lower the pressure, the temperature sort of is a bit more controlled in the tyre, and it'll be in a better window for more of the race. But when the rain's falling down like this, it's so wet out there, they're not going to overheat at all. So the drivers who potentially have gone a bit more risky with the higher tyre pressures might be in a better position, because it's hard for the mechanics to put air in the tyres on the grid, whereas obviously they can take air out with their pressure gauges.
Well, I have just seen one of the Hill Speed cars having the air taken out of the tyres a little bit. So that was quite interesting. It looks like we are going to head out now. It's still raining quite heavily here. We do still have cars on track from the previous race. I guess they'll just come back in once our GB3 cars have gone out here. It's interesting to see that when you have such a busy schedule as we have here on this weekend, that things have to work to time. So it's good to see that they've found a solution here, as we can just see the cars go out, and we'll just watch them go out from the safety of our little tent here. Costa Taparis going out, Pearson, and obviously the red flashing lights in the back, very important in this weather.
Yeah, and also it's a good thing to see that the new addition this year, we've got the red flashing light on the back of the chassis, but also on the top corners of the wings, which is a really good addition to the GB3 Championship. Another addition for safety, because the drivers can see the cars in front of them through the spray even better than they could before.
It's going to be really hard to get some temperature into these tyres, isn't it, Piers? It's going to be nigh on impossible.
Yeah, you'll see the drivers working really, really hard on this half lap to the, a couple of corners to the grid, and then also on that formation lap to get as much temperature as possible in the tyres so that they can have a good start, because the start's going to be critical.
Yeah, it really, really is. We're going to let you run off, Piers, and a little secret, a little production secret. Obviously, Piers has to get across the track here to join Lewis McGlade on commentary. The first race he had to run, and we felt that was a little bit bad, so now he's got his own special Piers Pryor scooter. So he'll be there in a matter of minutes, but let's go racing for the final time now. It's the reverse grid race here at Zandvoort in the GB3 Championship.
Well, it appears the rain is officially here. We were expecting it for a long time, and it has certainly come down, and very heavily indeed, just before the final race here in Zandvoort. Of course, just 4 races left to go until we crown our champion. It quite literally just couldn't be closer at the top, courtesy of a penalty for Callum Voisin yesterday. There is just 4 points separating the top 3. I cannot wait to see how this will go and how this will unfold. I'm sure we're in for a very exciting one indeed. Of course, Patrick Huizenrode on his debut will be starting from the reverse grid pole. This taken from the qualifying session and reversing all of the fastest times. By the way, everyone, can we give a big shout out to obviously our lovely marshals, but also all of the people that are working on our broadcast out and about. I was speaking to a couple of the camera operators yesterday. They have had a very difficult couple of days. High winds, freezing cold, and now rain to add to it as well. It's not just difficult for our drivers, mechanics, it's difficult for everyone over the weekend. Of course, we've got a long hold on the grid there as we're waiting for them to begin their formation lap in what is some of the most treacherous conditions we've seen. Of course, around all the banking and stuff, they were speaking about getting tyre temperature in, getting the car balanced and sorted around a circuit like this. It is going to be as difficult as it gets. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how things unfold, but we'll see how things can unfold for Huizenrode, and we'll see if maybe Mavliatov can take, by the way, a 4th win of the year. That would be absolutely wild, because of course then he would join being the list of, and I hate saying it, the most winningest drivers of the year. So it is what it is. I am joined in the commentary box by Piers Pryor. He's made his way over. It's very quick, by the way, Piers. Wow, there is it.
Yeah, thankfully, because our cameraman Cam has got a scooter. I scooted over so I don't have to run myself. But it's pretty disgusting out there, Lewis. It's freezing cold. The wind is absolutely howling through. You can see the amount of rain that's falling. And it's going to be very changeable for the remainder of the race. I think, are they waiting on the grid for the conditions to change?
I think so. There is, maybe they're just waiting for a couple of things to be ticked off around the back end of the circuit. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, the race prior to this has been red, or qualifying I think it was, quite prior to this in the other session has been red flags. So it's taken us a little while to get out onto the circuit. So we are slightly delayed. Whether that means we'll see the entirety of the 25 minutes. In fact, actually, I can see on our live timing it has already been reduced to 23 minutes as our maximum time, which we will almost certainly hit. So they're giving the 1 minute board and the engine on. By the way, I want to give a little bit of a shout out because I was reading some things online between yesterday and today. I was taking a look at some of the stuff that had been posted out by Feeder Series, which of course one of the media outlets that kind of follow this championship. And George Brabner was the one that kind of posted this on social media. It was about Joseph Loke, and I kind of want to just hammer home about the maturity, which we kind of discussed a little bit last night, where he came into this round like way before we got here, when talking about the championship and talking about this, talking about that, and Joseph Loke said, "I'm also concerned about Alex Dunn, because if he gets 2 race wins and I finish sort of like 5th and 6th, he can overtake us in the championship." And guess what happened?
Here we are.
Literally that.
Here we are.
Such a good mindset on Joseph Loke.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly got his ears to the ground and knows what the situation is, as a lot of the drivers will. But, you forget that a lot of these drivers are operating at this high level and they're barely old enough to drive on the road. And yeah, great shot there of the amount of rain that is still falling. Look how dark it is out there, Lewis.
It looks difficult. Okay, so we were discussing about driving into the sun yesterday. This has got to be a different level of difficulty.
Oh, different level. I mean, you can see the amount of standing water. I don't know if we're going to get... I mean, if we're getting a standing start, then that'll be tricky for the drivers. Normally in conditions this heavy, sometimes we get a safety car restart. But of course, with this being a newly resurfaced Grade 1 circuit, I'm sure the drainage is probably better than potentially some of our smaller circuits in the UK. But yeah, it's going to be very important for all of the drivers to get as much heat in the tyres as possible. And I'll talk about tyres once you've run them through the grid very shortly, Lewis.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot to deal with this. Of course, I can tell you what compound everyone's on. Wet. But yeah, we'll go into that in a few moments' time. And like I say, you can see how difficult this is. I can't see us getting a standing start, but maybe we will. Maybe Patrick Husenroder might have to learn the hard way as to how to start. Of course, drivers higher up the grid as well that are less used to it. Jack Sherwood on his debut, as well as Husenroder starting up there in the order. It's a long field, 25 odd cars that are going to go racing around here, so it should be a fun one.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. It doesn't actually look like there's too much standing water at the moment, which is good. Let's run through the grid, Lewis.
Here we go then. Patrick Husenroder will start from pole position with Daniel Mavliatov looking for his fourth win of the year, starting alongside. Jack Sherwood looking for his first, and Gerard Shea from fourth. Sean Rashid will start from fifth place with Noah Ping starting from sixth, one of our favourites to look for in this race. Costa Paris and Ed Pearson will line up on row 4. Devon Morales and Arthur Rojon in 10th position, the final spots inside that top 10, before we work our way down to Max Esterson and John Bennett, who worked his way inside the top 10 in the first race of the weekend from that position. Might well do so once more. Zach Taylor starts from 13th position with Ollie Stewart, who's had a great weekend on pace. Callum Voisin, championship leader, will start from 15th, way ahead of his rivals, with Timothy Kuharczyk starting alongside. Jared Oberski in 17th position, James Headley in 18th. The Arden VRDs have looked so fast this weekend, with Matthew Rees and Suter around having his best weekend in GB3 that he's had so far in the year. Joseph Logan will start from 21st position, Nico Christodoulou alongside. Only a couple more rows left to go. Mackenzie Cresswell, Alex Dunn starting from the penultimate row of the grid. The last one was Michael Shin, courtesy of a disqualification from qualifying after contact between himself and Callum Voisin. Talk to me about tyres.
Right, so I noticed on the grid that pretty much everyone inside the top 6 or 7 places have got pretty much new or at least very lightly scrubbed wet tyres. Patrick Husenroder actually has what looked like a slightly more used set of wet tyres. So
why would you want that?
The only reason I can think is, one, potentially budget. You know, he's only doing a one-off round, so he might not want to use a new set of tyres because they are expensive. But two, maybe he's just thinking, if I can get a good start at the beginning of the race, then I can that'll sort my race out and I can go from there, because it's going to be about staying out of trouble. And with a used set of wet tyres, you can sometimes just get a bit more bite at the start of the race.
We are being told, I think Jack Sherwood might have had a bit of a problem on the run up towards the grid. I think they'll be given will they be given a couple of formation laps in this, or is it just literally just the one?
We will see very shortly, because they had wet practice.
It's just one. If it was two, they'd be still going.
Yeah, I think because we had wet practice sessions, I think they may have just gone with one. No, we are going with a second formation lap, so that's good for the drivers to get an extra lap of heat in their tyres, and also just get their iron and find out where the puddles are, where they can and cannot go.
I did want to ask as well, as we can see, that's James Headley, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and you've got Matthew. They're struggling for grip. You can even see that as they come off of Tarzan. You've got Suter around back there. I was going to say about the new tyres. We hear this quite a bit in Formula One when it comes to scrubbing wet tyres and that, about a release agent on the tyre. Obviously,
yeah.
What's that about?
If anyone at home who's watching has had new tyres in their car, you'll notice they're kind of a bit shiny when they're brand new, and then after a day or so, or 2 days driving, they kind of have like a matte finish, like a normal tyre after it's been used. And basically, the molds that they make the tyres in are smooth, so that they can pop the tyres on and off, and it makes a smooth layer on the outside. And you need the tarmac to rub over the surface of the tyre to make it, not smooth. And of course, if it's smooth, it's going to be more slippery. And in conditions like this, you need every bit of grip you can get. And that smooth surface is what rubs off, but it doesn't come off instantly, especially when it's this wet. So if you put a brand new sticker set of wets on, it could take until half around the second formation lap until you've got them in the right, got the surface prep right. And all that while, you're not building as much heat as someone who might have a used set of wets. So there's pros and cons. The only other thing is, of course, with a used set of wets, you've got less tread. So, you're balancing your pros and cons there.
And parts of the circuit like that, of course, in these kind of conditions, I think one of the most important bits is stay off the curb. The curb is surely going to be super slippery like this.
Curbs are slippery, but you'll also see, through example, before we saw an example then, Zach Taylor jumping over the curb through that little section there. If it's a small curb and you can shorten the line by using the curb, you'll see the drivers abusing all of the curb to try and gain a bit of an advantage, because you can't turn as effectively in the wet because you've got less grip. So if you can make the line shallower by cutting a little bit of track, they will do that.
Well, it does look as though we're going to get a standing start. So for drivers that are new in GB3, you can see all the fans there, obviously getting ready for the GT race to get a little bit of a treat in the GB3 Championship. Standing start as well. This is going to be an unbelievably difficult run. Finding that bite point, not getting too much wheel spin.
Oh,
whoa,
no!
That's
Ed Pearson.
Pearson, yeah. Pearson in the background. Oh, it might have been Max Esterson.
Oh, it is Esterson. iRacing car, yep. So will he be able to take his grid position? I'm not sure what the rules are actually at that point.
I think he's just going straight back for it. He'll be on the outside here on the right-hand side, just ahead of Zach Taylor.
So I don't know whether there'll be anything looking into that after the race, but luckily he's managed to find his grid. He hasn't stalled the car, so we don't have to go around again. We see our championship leader lining up at the back of the grid, and then on the right-hand side at the back is Michael Shin. So that is the whole grid ready. We'll see the green flag fly at the back.
This is going to be an exciting one. Just 4 rounds left before we end this journey. Of course, that means that we're done in just 8 days, but it could be, your advantage could be made here. Well, the red lights will go on one final time in Zandvoort. They will go out once more. It's a terrible start from quite a lot on the grid, just courtesy of how slippery it is, but it could be big for the likes of Callum Voisin as they work their way through the order again. Points gained for every position they work their way up on the race down towards the first corner. Big send down the inside. That was Arthur Rojon. You've got Max Esterson trying to get around the outside. You've got Callum Voisin in the middle of there. I know it's hard to pick apart from you in the audience, but my goodness, this is tricky as well.
Contact between
Suta Arau and Nico Christodoulou.
Christodoulou's gone down the order heavily, and that is, Costa Tapara's going straight on at turn 2, and there's going to be more drama as people make their way through here. Turn 3 is going to be carnage with cars going wide, and James Headley in the wall, and he's hit the back.
Gerard
Shea.
Yeah, that is almost certainly going to be a safety car, because I think there's a lot of damage on the front end, so they're coming around the back end of the circuit up towards Shevlak. I know, safety cars come out. Zach Taylor's actually making a move. Now, they probably can't even really see the safety car boards from there. I know they're all lit up and stuff, but you can see they've all neutralised the race now. But yeah, wow, that was difficult. By the way, as much as it says the laps at the top, as much as lap time is slower, obviously with the safety car, we're almost certainly a timed race, of which is 23 minutes, courtesy of the extra formation lap, rather than the standard 25.
Well, good to see that both drivers are okay, because we saw an issue there for Daniel Ricciardo, and you can see there Headley, banging the car in frustration, but that was a bit unfortunate, really. But we spoke to a lot of the drivers. They said that they expected a safety car, and it took us approximately 2.5 corners.
Mackenzie Cresswell, +8, straight away. He has been unreal this weekend as Mackenzie Cresswell. 15th position he is at the moment. He has gained 8 positions in, I would say 1 lap, but let's be more honest, it's 3 corners.
But also Callum Voisin going up 6 places as well with a great start. I saw him actually, you were chatting to the start, Lewis, and I was gesticulating at the screen because I saw Callum Voisin go in the middle of 2 cars, and it looked like he was going to get sandwiched. He went on the inside of Esterson and on the outside of Esterson, sorry, and the inside of someone else, and I couldn't see who the other car was. But yeah, that was Callum Voisin not holding any punches despite his position in the championship.
Gotta say, good start. Actually, I thought it was terrible from Husenberger. I thought it was going to absolutely lose out to Mavlitov, but still holds the race lead, of course, on debut this weekend. The driver who's lost the most inside that top grouping is Jack Sherwood, who started this race from 3rd place, has lost 4 spots in the running. I think, I don't want to be too harsh, it's kind of expected. If this is a dry race, I think Jack Sherwood probably would have wanted this to be a dry race, because you kind of understand a bit more what's going on, but he's ended up finding himself behind his teammate Arthur Rojon.
Yeah, it's unfortunately Jack Sherwood, the car we're looking at. Is that right now? Is that Jack Sherwood?
No, that's Zach Taylor.
That is Zach Taylor, but we saw Sherwood in the move backwards slightly. Kuharczyk in the pit, so that must have been front wing damage, potentially getting involved there. Unfortunate for Kuharczyk, although he'll be joining the back of the field probably once we get going again. There's nearly contact between Esterson and Taylor as everyone's slowing right down as they get into turn number 3, so that's a good drive for everyone. Those cars still haven't been retrieved as yet, clearly waiting for a Zoom Boom to come and collect them.
Certainly so. Obviously you can see the rain seems to have lightened slightly. Obviously the circuit's still very, very wet. marshals will just hold on a sec before they can move the cars once the grids come through. We'll take a look at the replay of that race start. You can see a terrible start from Sherwood, but talk us through this.
Yeah, Sherwood a terrible start. A great start from the front of the field by Pat Herzenrode, so he did really well there. Also Mavlyatov too. You can see Herzenrode come across, and then it was like 4 or 5 wide in the back, and look, you can't see any of the cars with the spray, and that's pretty much what the drivers will see too. But look at Voisin in the middle here, diving on the middle. Yeah, I thought he was almost certainly going to come under contact, and then that's 4 wide on the exit of the first corner. But Wilberski going around the outside, contact at the back of the field with Christodoulou.
I think it was Dunn who had a little bit of contact with it. So I want to kind of see it. It's very hard to see in the background there, but I'm pretty sure Dunn was one of the ones that copped a bit of a whack with Suta Arau and Nico Christodoulou. That's where Costa Paris went straight on.
And then
obviously
Headley in the top of shot now, just slide up the track and into the wall.
Which Gerard Shea had already done.
Yeah, so clearly the wide line there was very slippery, because that's where all the rubber has been laid all weekend in the dry. And those drivers that decided to go out wide really struggled with grip, and Gerard Shea found that out first, and then James Headley followed him in.
And you can see where you've had like the paint for various advertising and things around that outside, that sort of like that concrete, that also isn't as grippy. You really want to keep below the white line there. Also, if you're, I know this from my my oval racing and sim racing days. If you're unsure as to what the grip's going to do, i.e. you're going to get a lot of oversteer, you want to kind of run a slightly lower line until you figure out what's going on. And it is basically, you've got to treat it like an oval through there.
Because then you've got more margin for error.
Exactly. You want to keep that margin for error. If you don't know what the grip's going to do, you cannot run it up by the wall, because you'll be in it. And that's essentially what's gone on.
Yeah, we're just looking at Costa Paris here. He's at the back of the field. So he went through the gravel on turn 2 and 3 after a big moment, and just about kept out of the wall. So good to see him still going. Another difficult day for Costa Paris. He's been there or thereabouts, but never quite strung a weekend together in recent weekends. So maybe Donington next time out he'll find a bit of a rhythm. But there's Headley's car. That's a real shame. That looks like it's probably going to be a while before we get going, I think. So we're doing at least one more lap under the safety car. Very cool safety car actually here this weekend.
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, anytime you get to see an Audi R8, I think it's wasn't it Audi R8 in Le Mans? I think it was like 19 when there was a load of red flags over the night, and when they went out to go and test the conditions, they were just sliding through the S's.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, they're clearly nice cars to drive, but they won't be anywhere near as quick as these GB3 cars around the circuit. And now we're behind the safety car. You'll see the drivers as soon as they're past this section where there's lots of staff on the circuit. They'll be working very, very hard, just as they were before the start, to get as much temperature in their wet tyres once again as they possibly can.
Does mean that packing up and the return journey home, and by home I mean to Donington Park straight after this, will be slightly delayed. Of course, because all the cars, all that has to be loaded up basically straight after this race, and then preparations instantly, focus of attention straight onto Donington Park in just a week's time. As there's been issues for Ed Pearson.
Yeah, that was a sign from the marshal that it needs a tow, so he doesn't actually need to be removed from the circuit. Potentially a mechanical issue, and then there's Headley's car taken off the circuit. That damage looks pretty bad, but it's actually mostly parts that can be changed pretty easily, so hopefully nothing too bad that we can't see. That means that they'll have to do anything between now and Donington. I'm sure that'll just be a replacement of a front corner and a front wing, and he'll be ready to go once again for testing later on this week at Donington Park for the finale. And it's been a hard weekend for Headley actually, hasn't it? He was fourth in the championship coming in, and then of course the issue in race 1 avoiding Rees and into Kaharchik, and then of course then now a DNF again in race number 3. So a tough weekend for Headley, especially when his Arden VRD car has been so fast.
Yeah, of course he finished 4th in the previous race, but the one he had. I know you're pointing it out on the screen. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to steal the point. Noah Ping, yeah, 3rd place. Okay, so I want to clarify, by the way, when we were going through the starting grid, I said about the Noah Ping, and it was one of our favourites for the race, and then we were going to talk about why, and we never talked about why. Now's the time to talk about why, Piers.
Well, I'd like to say that I was the one that picked.
Noah
Ping is my pick for the win, just purely because we were just chatting about it with James Headley. The Arden VRD cars have been absolutely rapid around the Zandvoort circuit this weekend, both in dry and wet conditions. Yeah. Noah Ping, he's been equally as quick as Christodoulou and Headley in all the practice sessions, and then didn't quite get it all together in the qualifying session. And of course we know qualifying is so important. and that's why he's starting higher up the grid in this reverse grid race. But that means that he's also out of position in terms of pace, so all of the drivers he is around will be much faster or much slower than he is on ultimate pace. So I imagine that Noah Ping, once we get racing again, which will have probably 14 minutes remaining in this race as it stands, 14 and a half minutes. So assume we go at the end of this lap, 12 minutes of racing, which is what, 6 or 7 laps, 7 or 8 laps?
I'm not sure we'll go racing at the end of this lap, because still have to get Pearson's car out of the way, because they are getting that one. Now,
we're going to get at least 6 laps of racing, and I think that Ping could definitely overtake Mavlyatov and Hosenroder based on the pace that I've seen Ping do in the wet in testing compared to those other two.
You can see there in the top now, we switch over into the timing count, as you can see how long's left. It will certainly be a timed race from this point. Hopefully we'll get back racing. That is a look on top of the grandstand. I went up there a little bit earlier when I was trying to find one of my friends, Felix van Delft, and I can tell you it's windy up there. It's windy everywhere around here, but my goodness me, that pit lane, on top of that pit lane, that is scary.
Yeah, the one, I suppose, good thing about the amount of wind we've got this weekend and during this race is because of all the spray, because the wind's so strong, it actually blows the spray away, so it doesn't linger in the air. Whereas when we go somewhere like Brands Grand Prix circuit, Alton Park, if it was this wet, we would have worse visibility because the spray off the cars lingers in the air, and then you end up with almost like a thick, dense fog as the drivers go around. So it's actually quite good for visibility safety. Of course, it makes it more difficult for the drivers, as their cars will be being affected by the way the wind blows on them as they go around the corners.
Absolutely. Now for Noah Ping, to go back to that a little bit, for anyone really, if they want to win the race, they want to get some decent positions, Callum Boys, etc, etc. For one, you want to do it whilst you're bunched up. For two, you kind of want to do it as quick as possible, because the likelihood of a safety car, again, is very high. Now for Mavlyatov, he'll want to get through, obviously he wants to win the race. We were talking to Richard Randall a little bit earlier on, and he was saying that, to kind of clarify, we've had 5 reverse grid races so far this year. Obviously, one of those was cancelled, so it is 5, not 6. Mavlyatov has won 3 of them.
Yes, so if Mavlyatov had won this one, he would be equal driver with the most wins.
With Dunn and Loke.
Yes, which is... Dunn going through the gravel. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Dunn pushing on to see, trying to find out how much grip he's got and where he can make an advantage, but actually end up off the circuit there. So that will have not been deliberate. Is that Tristan Dulu dropping back, or is he just off the line?
Are they stacking up? No, they were still. Maybe we are going for a. No, we are going for another lap.
One more lap under the safety car.
I was going to say a really bad Dunn pun, because I've seen. I get really bored of them, but at the same time, sometimes on a broadcast, just kind of like, he was trying to make that corner, but he hasn't done it.
Oh.
There you go. Okay, fantastic. Your face right now is horrendous. So yes, potentially one more lap behind the safety car before we get this one back going again. I'll give you a little bit of a talk of the running order. Obviously, Hosenroder starts in pole position and hangs on to it. Mavlyatov starts from the front row, hangs on to it. Noah Ping's worked his way up from about sixth place. Sean Rashid obviously dropping back a little bit. Morales, Rojon, Sherwood's dropped back 4 spots on the race start. Of course, Callum Voisin has gained an incredible amount, which he needs to do to go and take on his championship rivals. The lead in the championship, as the note from race controller's safety car is in this lap, the lead in the championship is just 3 points. 4 points separates the top 3. But we were saying we're kind of expecting the championship lead to be more than 10 points going into Donington, courtesy of where Callum Voisin is starting in this grid. But everyone's bunched up. You never know what anyone can do.
You really don't know, and it's going to come down probably to the last race of the season, because there's still 20 plus, potentially 30 up to 35 points. I think it's 30 points at least available in race 3 at Donington. So
it's still 35 because it's 20 for a win, and you can technically gain 15.
Yeah.
The most points you can gain in a reverse grid is 20 for the win, and you gain up to 15 points for positions gained.
Yes. So this is probably going to go down to the final race of the season, but every point does count, because a difference between a 10-point and a 15-point lead in the championship in the final race is a difference between a couple of places and 5 or 6 places difference to your direct rivals, which is what Callum Voisin will be trying to do in this race, and why he's probably gone out and is looking to make moves, and we've seen him make a couple of bold moves already, including on lap 1, to try and get as much distance between him and his championship rival, who is now just in our shot there, number 22, and also Joseph Loke hasn't made a huge amount of progress either.
No, just a 16th spot. I mean, it's still quite a few spots, to be honest, but obviously, when you compare it to Voisin, it's not much. Everyone's really trying to get some heat into their tyres. Whatever they can get to, any like degree here or there is going to be really important, right?
Yeah, hugely important. The circuit's still so wet and doesn't show any signs of drying, as now the safety car lights go out. So Patrick Hosenroder takes charge at the front of the field. When is he going to go? It looks like he may have already gone actually quite early, which is surprising. I thought he would have gone a bit later, but we are going racing as soon as we go over the start-finish line.
Yeah, he's gone now. He certainly has gone. He's not actually pulled out much of a margin over Mavlyatov, so we'll get this race back underway. 9.5 minutes left to go on the clock. We'll tell you what the lap times are, and then we'll work out how many laps there are left. You can see Mavlyatov going straight on the attack, looking for his 4th win in GB3, straight down the inside as they head down towards Tarzan. That is the 99 committing to the inside. Mavlyatov works his way to the front. Out wide goes Hosenroder, and he drops back into second, but look at all the pack behind. Callum Voisin trying to work his way past Jack Sherwood.
That's a great move from Callum Voisin. I think he's made his way through. Still side by side. Is he going to make that move down? Sherwood's going to go straight on. Surely he's going to go to the gravel.
Yeah.
Yes, he has. And in the barrier. So Sherwood. Oh no, Patrick Hosenroder's in the barrier as well. So we've only lasted 2 corners before we're going to have another safety car. But looking at the field, there's still racing going on. In the back of field, 3 wide through there, so that is almost certainly. But we race until the safety car boards, Lewis.
I said you needed to get on with it as soon as possible.
Car.
There is the safety car boards. That was very predictable. Unfortunately, Noah Pings obviously worked his way up to the 2nd position, courtesy of it. But a big shame there for Hosenroder, a big shame there for Sherwood. Of course, we'll give a little bit of leeway to those two particularly because. They are the rookies on the grid. This is their very first weekend in GB3. To be fair, let's just clarify, you couldn't ask for something much harder as Zandvoort, which is a difficult circuit at the best of times with the undulation and stuff, a reverse grid race where it is wet, where it is windy, and where it is your first race experience in the car. For those two, I think they've done a really good job this weekend at trying to keep out of trouble. This race is about as hard as it gets.
Pat Hosenroder, of course, will be completely gutted with that, having just lost the lead and then made a mistake, really trying to go up high to get a good exit through out of 3, down 4 and 5 to get that lead back. But we've seen how little grip there is on the outside of turn 3 with Gerard Shee and then James Headley on the first start, and then it's caught out another driver there, and also unfortunately Jack Sherwood made his way through the gravel on turn 2 and is in the barrier 2. So 2 cars to retrieve. Oh, you can see the body language of Hosenroder there. Really disappointing, but hopefully we'll see him back in the championship, and it's all part of the learning experience for him and all the other drivers who haven't raced in this series quite yet.
I think, by the way, with there being 7.5 minutes left to go, I don't want to be a little Debbie Downer, but I think this could well be the end of the race.
This could be the end of the race. That would mean that Daniel Mavlyatov takes another reverse grid win. I'm hoping and optimistic that we can get at least a couple of laps racing in 7 minutes. It's going to be touch and go, but the marshals in the UK, but also the marshals here at Zandvoort do a great job. They cleared those other cars on the first start away effectively. There was more cars stopped last time out, and there's unfortunately Sherwood, disappointed, understandably. It'll be cold out there because it's not the warmest day, and it's still getting rained on. But it's the worst feeling when you're watching the race go on and from the sidelines.
The adrenaline, though, is probably getting. But to be fair, though, the thing is, what else can he do right now? Because he's on the outside of the circuit.
Yeah.
So he's like, obviously it's not him, but he's left on the worst possible spot.
Should we just quickly run through the order as it stands after that second restart?
I think so. So obviously, I will bring you some points in a moment as well, so we can kind of go through that in just a moment. But obviously, Mavlyatov leading and looking for his 4th win. Noah Ping, I mean, he didn't do anything to pick up that 2nd spot, but he would really like this race to get back underway because Ping could very much win this. Rojan, is this going to be Rojan's first podium?
Yeah, I think it will be.
Voisin, by the way, up into 5th position after that, which is unreal. And that means when you consider that Loke is down in 13th and Dunn's down in 16th, Dunn's only going to be scoring the points for the positions that he's gained, because it's points down to... I can't remember. It's all on the spreadsheet.
And then we're in the high-tech garage there, everyone looking at the, biting their nails, watching the stream onwards to see what's going on, because of course the teams can only see out the back of the circuit what we show them on these very images that we're watching at home. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. I'll let Lewis have a quick tot-up of some provisional points as it stands. But we're looking at Callum Voisin, who's done an excellent drive. You know, he's made up nearly 10, I think it's 10 places? Yeah, 10 places from his grid slot, which when you're leading a championship in a wet race around a circuit where the margins are so fine, to go up 10 positions without making a mistake is really, really good going, because you're having to balance risk and reward every single turn and every single overtake. and clearly doing that very well. We know the Broden, Carlin cars are fast in the wet. We know that they've been fast this weekend on occasion, and he's just doing all he needs to do to extend that gap as much as he can in the championship.
So the top 3 at the moment in the championship, as things stand, this is including the position they're in and the points they've gained for the positions that they've gained. Callum Voisin would have 406 points at the moment. Joseph Loke 393, Alex Dunn 389. So what that means is that Callum Voisin has a 13-point lead over Loke, and then it is 17 points back to Alex Dunn. So 17 points separating the top 3. When, to remind you how many points are on offer at Donington Park, it is 105. 35 for the first race victory, 35 for the second race victory, and there is 35 points up for grabs in that final race, although it is kind of unlikely. But still, 105 points total on the table.
Yeah, available if you won all 3 races, which we haven't seen done very many times, and not in the last few years at least.
I don't think we've ever seen it. I don't think we've ever seen it.
I swear someone did a 3. Yeah, someone did. It was a Carlin driver. I can't remember the name.
It wasn't
Enam Ahmed. Was it Enam Ahmed who got 3 races in a weekend, I think?
Really?
I think so.
Was it the same format as this, though?
It might have been a slightly different format. I think it was a 4-race weekend or something. But anyway...
it's the only reason why I say it is because, like, winning from the back of the grid... I can't think of many tracks where you could win from the back of the grid. Spa, you probably could because of the slipstream.
It would certainly be harder these days because, of course, we are at a capacity grid this weekend, and will be probably a capacity, I would imagine, or near capacity of 26 cars. Of course, we're going to get some, potentially even some more cars next year. We'll keep an eye on the GB3.net website over the winter to find out all about the updated car and driver combinations next year. But yeah, we're at capacity grid, which is great to see, and it's the biggest grid we've had at this level of racing in the UK pretty much ever. And
I said it last year, I'll say it again this year. One thing that I absolutely love is the grid's not changing often. Yeah, the grid's staying pretty much the same from the start of the year to the end of the year. Of course, we get a couple of little additions and the odd person drops out, but for the majority of the grid, it is the same grid from the start to the end. You don't see that in too many junior Formula.
Yeah.
And I love that because we can, obviously, from us, from a broadcast perspective, we can build the stories in the paddock and all that kind of stuff. For you as a viewer, you can follow your favourite driver. For the drivers, they're getting consistency of racing on the same grid, which means you can chart that trajectory. Look at Suta Arau and how much he's moved forward this weekend. You can actually see that because of the previous rounds.
Yeah, it's not just a random collection of drivers, and also it makes a proper championship.
Yeah.
When you're racing against the same guys, you know, week in, week out, and you can sort of judge your relative performance a lot better. And also means that the level is higher because a driver that stays in a championship is always going to be probably closer to the ultimate pace that cars are available to than someone who just jumps in for a weekend. I mean, occasionally we see drivers jump in and do particularly well on one-off occasions, but generally a new driver to a championship won't do as well as our stalwarts.
So this, we're heading on to what will be the last lap of this race, and I do not believe that safety car is coming in. We've not had any note from race control, and the safety car is going to remain out with the lights on. So unfortunately, we've had 6 corners of racing, but obviously on 2 attempts. It is what it is. Kind of expected insanely difficult conditions. That is sometimes how it goes. Of course, we kind of saw something similar at Alton Park. We had a bit more racing. Who won on that day? It was Daniel Mavlid.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, that's why we are not racing quite yet, because the barrier is needing to be repaired. And of course, the safety of the drivers in the circuit is always paramount, because as much as motorsport is dangerous, we want to make sure everyone can go, can finish and get home safely after a great day of racing.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're not going to get racing again, which is a real shame. But I tell you what, considering we've only had 6 or 7 corners of racing in this 20-minute race, Lewis, for Callum Voisin to go up 10 places, quite impressive, and also could be definitive and a deciding factor in the championship when we get to Donington.
It just, again, we've said it before, it just shows the maturity of this kid. The fact that he is able to piece his way through, maybe on a weekend where things haven't quite gone his way. He came into this round with a buffer. He's leaving it with a buffer. Yes, a slightly reduced buffer, but he's built some of it back in this race by being bold.
And let's not forget that he's managed to build back some of that buffer, considering his main championship rival has won 2 races and he had a poor qualifying. So it shows to show that, you know, qualifying can set up your weekend either well or poorly, but you can also have an effect on your races by just dealing with the adversity as well as you can.
Yeah, and we've spoken about it so many times. There is a look at Alex Dunn, of course, the driver who worked his way back up into second position. Can we just say, amazing turnaround for him this weekend? Obviously, with the issues that he had at Brands Hatch, he was saying that he needed to come back in, needed to target this weekend. He's targeted this weekend. He's done an amazing job.
A truly amazing job. I think this race, it was hard for him to make positions because he started at the back of the field. There's a lot of spray. And also Joseph Loke's done well this weekend with some solid results, and he's still well within the championship hunt in second place. Joseph Loke will be pretty satisfied with the weekend. Of course, he will think it could have gone better, but at the same time, he's still well within the championship hunt, and basically all three of those front drivers will be looking at this weekend, and if they'd have left this weekend in the position they're at, they probably would have taken it.
Yeah.
Alex Dunn would go, well, I was 42 points off the lead. I'm now only, 19, assuming we finish as we are without any penalties or anything. Joseph Loke will be like, well, I started the weekend pretty much where I finished up. I'm a little closer to the championship lead. And Callum Voisin, I think he would have gone, well, I'm still in the championship lead. That has to be his main goal. So it's the best weekend clearly to Dunn. He's closed that gap heavily and put himself well back in the fight rather than just an outside chance. But all three of those guys are still going to take it hammer and tong at the front of the field at Donington Park. I really, really hope that we have a 1-2-3 for Voisin, Dunn and Loke in any order for qualifying for Donington Park, because that would really be a showdown to cap off what has been one of the best seasons in the GB3 Championship ever, as the checker flag is being shown this lap, Lewis.
Yeah, so Mavlitov is going to come across the line to take yet another win in GB3. Just an easy cruise for him. Wonder what he'll say about that one. Probably that one was even slightly easier than what he had back in Alton Park, but ping across the line in second, and third for Rojan. I can't wait to see the highlights from this race.
Yeah, Rojan's had a great race. Let's mention the podium actually. Mavlitov, he didn't do a huge amount of laps on his own, but he did make a decisive move for the lead, which was valuable. He knew he had to make it then. Noah Ping made up some places, had some great pace, was catching Mavlitov before the safety car then came out for the second time. And then after Rojan, great. It'll be great to chat to him. We haven't chatted to him a huge amount this season because he's often just sort of been just out of the limelight with his positioning. Hasn't quite had the results that he would have wanted after a strong start at Alton Park. But a good drive from those three. And actually, Morales in fourth as well. He's kept out of trouble, and he struggled for results, I think, by his own standards recently. So let's run you through the results provisionally.
Certainly so. Well, Daniel Mavlitov taking a fourth win of the year. And, of course, Noah Ping in second, and Arthur Rojan taking that third spot, looking very impressive. He did have a podium back in Silverstone and one at Snetterton as well. I think he even had one at Brands Hatch as well. But still, he's looking very strong, building himself up in the season. David Morales, Callum Voisin, amazing drive, fifth place for him. Sean Rashid dropping back. Of course, he had a grid penalty coming into this one as well, so that put him in the mid-pack, down in the pack anyway, courtesy of where he's going to start on that front row. John Bennett did work his way from 12th to 7th, so he's actually had a really good weekend of working up positions in all three races. Waberski, Esterson, Taylor rounding out the top 10, with Mackenzie Cresswell, Ollie Stewart, who's actually had a really good weekend in that elite car. Joseph Loke, 13th position, of course, will take over second position again in the championship after re-overtaking Alex Dunn, but still quite a way behind our championship leader. Matthew Rees, Michael Shin, who actually, again, shout out, he had to start from the back of the grid, did Shin, courtesy of disqualification from qualifying, works his way back up into 15th. Alex Dunn, Suta Erau, Kuharczyk, Christodoulou, Taparis, and of course, retirements, Huizenrode, Sherwood, Pearson, Shea and Headley, all retirements from the race. So not ideal for some of those. Of course, most of those retirements coming awkwardly in the third corner. They'll work their way slowly back over into the pit lane. Of course, the top three will go round. The rest of them will come back into the basically into the paddock area. But those top three will work their way through and around. And amazingly, then, it is one of those bizarre facts that, and we actually kind of had this a little bit last year with Mikael Grundtvig, but there are three drivers who have 4 wins in 2023. You've got Joseph Loke, who obviously had a win at Alton Park, had 2 wins at Silverstone, and had a win at Brands Hatch from pole position, obviously just a few weeks ago. Alex Dunn has had 4 wins, all of them abroad, 2 at Spa, 2 at Zandvoort. And then the other driver with 4 wins, ironically, is Daniel Mavlitov, who's obviously not qualified very well. But we were saying this before. Yes, of course, the conditions and stuff in this race, fair enough. But if you look at his pace at Snet when he took that victory at Stetson a little bit earlier on in the year, and even at Brands Hatch, obviously in the third race a few weeks ago, his pace in the third race, he really does actually find some pace throughout the weekend. Yes, he's not blisteringly fast, but I kind of wonder if you took him through the races and then redid qualifying again, I don't think Mavlyatov would be at the back. I think like he does find something through the weekend, builds that confidence, and when he starts up the order, and it's not even just pace comparatively to the rest of the field, it's pace comparatively to the rest of the weekend generally. Noah Ping out of the car might be a little bit disappointed that wasn't able to go after his third win of the year. Of course, did get that reverse grid win in Silverstone, which is actually pretty impressive, but it was the Snetterton win that was most impressive for Noah Pink. Almost kind of came out of nowhere. We'll head down, though, to John Jackson to catch up with our podium finishers.
Slightly subdued celebrations from Daniel Mavlyatov, but hey, look, it's still his fourth race win this year. Very, very impressive. The man just to Daniel's right, the boss of Hill Speed, Richard Ollerenshaw, is 53 years old today, so happy birthday to Richard. He's just said to me a great birthday present, which I absolutely agree with. He said also one winner and one car in pieces, but I'm sure they'll get Jarajay's car fixed up ready for Donington next weekend. We'll just let them chat here while we wait for his contractually obliged hat, which he has to wear before I speak to him. I mean, a strange race, as Lewis and Piers have just discussed there, where we were expecting safety cars and that's what we got, but still have to keep it on the track, and that's what Daniel's done. And obviously the Hill Speed team very pleased that they haven't got one car, well, they've got at least one car that's come back in one piece, and it's all looking good. I mean, I don't see these hats coming, so I'm just going to start talking to him now. Daniel, I've got to grab you now. We're waiting for a hat, but it's fine, we can wait. That's the fourth win of the year.
Yeah, I guess it's the fourth win. It's not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. And you still had to keep it out on the track there, and the conditions were terrible while we were waiting to go out there with the really heavy rain, and then the wind here all the time, not going anywhere, and then it dried up a bit, and it was safety cars and chaos. And how was it for you out there?
Yeah, I guess it was just very slippery. I mean, yeah, lap one I didn't really get a good start. It was pretty average start, so I couldn't really get into P1 on lap one, but yeah, had a decent restart. Just kind of committed to the T1, and it worked.
Which part of the track was probably the hardest for you, which was maybe the slippiest?
Turn 2, where everyone went off.
Yeah, we saw that, yeah.
On that restart, I went all the way out of the track there. I was nearly in the wall, so.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because some of the cars have come back with a few scrapes and a few dents, but you've managed to bring your car home for Hill Speed, and it's a good present for your boss's birthday as well.
Wait.
Where is Richard? He's walked off. He's over there. He told me it's his birthday, so he said it's a good present for him.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay, well, he's obviously not told the team, but that's fine. Look, Daniel, congratulations on your fourth win of the year. We'll make sure we do sing him happy birthday or something like that. Have a safe trip home. We'll see you at Donington.
Thank you.
Daniel Mavlyatov there, winning his fourth race of the year. Let's see, Noah Ping is right behind us here, chatting to Richard Randall, the man behind MSV's Excellent Communications. If you see photos, if you see tweets and everything, that's the man that's doing it. No, we heard from you just before in the pre-show there, and it was good for you to catch up with Piers, and now we're chatting to you again. How was it out there for you? Because, I mean, to bring the car home is probably an achievement in itself.
Yeah, I don't think it was the wetness, to be honest with you. I think it was just the temperature. You couldn't get any heat in the tires, and we were going pretty slow, so there's just no heat in the tires, so it just made it tricky, and it was really, really greasy out there. So
yeah. Have you driven in conditions like that before?
A little bit, not much, a bit in winter testing, but this was a whole different ball game, and obviously the consequences are big at this track. There's not a lot of runoff, so it was mainly just survive, and unfortunately we didn't even get to race, in my opinion, so it's just unfortunate, but happy to be here on the podium. Arn VRD did an amazing weekend with Nico on the podium, like top 5 all around. I just didn't execute in qualifying, which is unfortunate, but we survived this last race, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very positive way to end this weekend, and we'll see you at Donington.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, have a good one. Enjoy celebrating there. Arthur Rojan, where are we? We're coming round to cameraman's left. Come towards me there. A little bit tricky out there, but congratulations for bringing the car home and getting P3.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really short race with only 2 times the first sector, but win 7th place in 6 corners. That's a really good race. So
yeah, You absolutely did some magical things out there in really trying and difficult conditions. We have Donington coming up next weekend, obviously already the end of the season, which has gone very, very quickly. What are you hoping for there to end on a positive?
Yeah, we hope to get another podium at Donington, maybe the win, but the main goal is to be fast and carry all the race on the top 10. That can be a really good goal for the last round.
And we hope for less rain as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, too much rain in this country.
Yeah,
Worse than UK.
Yeah, it's actually surprising to find somewhere that is worse than the UK for rain, but we will see you in Donington. Congratulations. We'll let you go and get your trophy.
Yeah, see you. Thank you.
There we go. Arthur Ojon driving with Chris Dittman Racing. And with that, we'll head over to the podium for the final time this weekend here at Zandvoort.
Of course, as always fascinating to see what the drivers thought. And even after a race like that, they were not super impressed. Like you say, Noah Ping basically saying we didn't really go racing. And to be fair, they did 6 corners. So yeah, it was 3 corners the first time and then 3 corners the second time, and that was it. But obviously it's very, very, very tricky conditions, about as difficult as it can be. Of course, we'll wait for them to all come out onto the podium. I did say, by the way, for Arthur Ojon that he did a podium at Brands Hatch. I misspoke. Well, to be fair, I misspoke. I misread the my own sheet, which is just terrible, to be perfectly honest. But he did have a podium back in Silverstone, did have a podium at Snetterton, and now has a 3rd one to add to his list before we head into the season finale. Of course, Noah Ping has had a couple of victories, one in a race 3, which was back in Silverstone, and then, of course, in Snetterton as well in that race 2. He'll take 2nd place in this race, and for the 4th time this year, Daniel Mavliatov takes himself to the top step, picked his way through it a little bit, obviously had a well-timed move to work his way past Patrick Husenröder. So super effort from him to have worked to a victory. Obviously trophies will be handed out and will be carried on, of course, until we go into that next round and last round. In just a week's time, it is incredible to think that literally in a week's time we will know our champion in GB3. Won't be quite at this time, of course, because there'll be 2 races on Sunday at Donington Park, and so we'll have to wait a week and maybe a few hours, and then we'll know our champion. I just don't know who it's going to be. Every time we go racing, it seems to chop and change as to who I'm leaning a little bit towards. Obviously, holding their trophies up. Daniel Mavliatov looks slightly less impressed by this one as he did when he took that victory a few weeks ago at Brands Hatch, especially with that victory that he took at Snetterton, which genuinely was actually a very impressive drive. Now they can get their races wet as well, although they'll have to get those washed and dry cleaned and such before they go racing in literally a week. We'll take a look, though, at highlights from the race. As we went racing for the 3rd race, the reverse grid at Zandvoort, it was a slow start and a sluggish one, unfortunately, for Jack Sherwood, struggling to get off the line. A good translation, though, from Husenröder on debut from the reverse grid pole over Daniel Mavliatov. The race down into the first corner saw plenty of 3 and 4 wide. Lots of drivers trying to work their way through the middle, including the red highlighted car of Callum Voisin getting around the outside of his teammate, John Bennett, the inside of Max Essen, who spun on the way to the grid. Contact between the 23 of Michael Shin and, of course, Suta Arau going through the first corner caused a couple of issues there. By the time they got their way down into turn 2 and turn 3, couple of moments from Husenröder. There was a couple of more moments behind and ahead. Out wide, Costa Paris would go, but then looking up high on the circuit, there were issues for Gerard Shea, who went up into the barrier. James Headley joined him. That would bring out the first safety car. Unfortunately, at this point as well, Pearson was having a couple of problems with his car, so he would retire from the race. On the restart, though, Mavliatov was straight down the inside. There wasn't many corners of racing in this one, but Mavliatov pounced on one of them, straight down the inside of Husenröder, took over the race lead, and then later on in the next couple of corners, there were some issues for Mavliatov, who went off himself. Husenröder had his own issue and went straight up into the barrier. At this point, a couple of other drivers were also having some issues behind, and that just basically put an end to the race. The safety car would come back out, and that is exactly how we would end. It would be a victory again for Daniel Mavliatov, coming across the line ahead of Noah Ping and Arthur Ojon. Just a brilliant performance from those, obviously. I mean, I say brilliant performance, obviously they just kept it out of trouble. That was the important bit. We'll take a look at the points standings. Up to date, of course, very, very, very provisional. Callum Voisin will pull out that 13-point lead we were talking about in the race. Of course, he came into this one with just 3 points of a lead, so he gets to add a 10 to that one, courtesy of the positions he gained. Obviously, he will take 406 points into the season finale. 393 for Joseph Loke, 389 for Alex Dunn. So it is still close, 17 points separating the top three. Plenty of battles behind as well. Mackenzie Cresswell has had a great run over the second half of this season. Looking for more podiums. If he can get podiums in the first two races at Donington Park, I'll be very impressed. 351 points that he's got, of course, comfortably clear of Matthew Rees. And then we get into a bit of a fight. Rees, Headley, Kuharczyk a little bit by himself and all this. And then a tight fight for those final spots inside the top 10. Nico Christodoulou, John Bennett, Jared Oberski. Noah Ping, to be fair, is 11th in the standings. Obviously, we can't see the second page. Don't worry about that. Noah Ping is very close in that fight. He's on 192 points. Knowing Ping's pace, could well join that grouping up the order. We'll head down, though, into the paddock area where JJ and PP are ready to have a little bit of a chat with the group.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Back down in... It looks like we're in a different place now, right? Because when we were last here about 25 minutes ago, there was rain thundering down, there was water everywhere. Now, there's this thing called the sun that's come out again. And it's honestly... I think the weather here changes more than anywhere in the UK, and I think Arthur Rojon was just saying to me, making a very good point, that we've managed to find somewhere that's wetter than the UK to race here at Zandvoort. But until that race, we've seen some very, very close racing. What do you reckon? 6 corners, did you say?
Well, Lewis said 6. It might have been 7 or 8, but not much more than that of actual green flag racing. And somehow, Joseph Loke. Well, he's here. Come in the middle. Joseph, we were just chatting about the fact there was how many corners of racing do you reckon we had in that one?
4, maybe?
4 or 5, yeah.
4's generous.
4's generous, but you still managed to make some places and you kept out of trouble, which I assume was the main goal.
Yeah, well, it's that wet. It's it's just so dangerous. The race should never have been run, in my opinion.
Really?
You couldn't see a single thing. I couldn't even see 2 cars in front. So, it was very, very dangerous. And I'm quite disappointed that the race was run, really.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's actually an interesting opinion because the drivers at the front didn't seem to complain as much, but of course they've got much better view.
Yeah, exactly. When you're in the mid pack, when there's 3 cars off, through the banking and stuff, I couldn't see that. So I go into the banking, and then all of a sudden there's 3 cars just in a wall, and I have to try and avoid them. And it's, luckily I could avoid them and everyone else could, but it's just so dangerous to run a race when it's that wet, especially with the standing start.
Well, I'm sure that you'll be able to relay that, and then they'll be looked at it so that some things like that the danger doesn't happen in future. But still, regardless, kept out of trouble. The championship's still pretty close. Callum managed to make 10 places in that race, actually, somehow. But you guys still made some places, you and Alex, and it's going to go down probably to the final race of the season.
Yeah, well, that's obviously what everyone watching at home wants to see. But of course, it's definitely going to be tight. It's going to be one fought to the end, and I'm looking forward to it. Donington's going to be a good circuit for us, hopefully. It's a place where I've gone well in the past, and we'll see what we can do, and hopefully we can win this thing.
And let's touch on Donington. Again, we know Donington generally is a championship bit better than we do Zandvoort. First time we were here this year. You've raced there before. What's your approach for Donington in terms of yourself, your prep, and with the team?
Same as every other, if I'm quite honest. We've obviously got to this point for a reason. We've been doing things right the whole year, and if we can just keep doing. I think it'll be anything too crazy. I'm looking forward to it, and it's a nice little challenge for myself.
Challenge indeed.
Well, look, Joseph, thank you very much for always having time to chat to us. Also, we've got a shout out your mum, who's out of shot here, but she's always... Come on, bring her in. Why don't you interview your mum? I'm going to give you this. You interview your mum about how her weekend. Go on.
Hello, how was your...
Extremely stressful. Yes. In a car and race round with... It's just... and I'm walking when I know what's happened.
So you've got plenty of steps in this weekend at least, but we just...
Do you know how many steps I did on Friday? Was it Friday or Saturday?
I don't know, either one.
19,500 steps.
And 18,500 of those was
all in the same place,
yes. Yeah, and then making sure I've got a bottle of Prosecco in the fridge for when I get back.
Well, still in the championship fight. We're looking forward to a great end to the season. I assume you guys will be there, and you'll be pacing up more than ever.
We will be there. It's quite a local track for us, so there'll be lots of family, lots of friends. I'll just be being bouncer and keeping them away with all the hype, letting Joseph focus on his job. Team are doing amazing. He's just been a star, coming out in his first season of GB3 and doing what he's doing. I'm so proud.
You should be. He's done so well, and even if it doesn't go your way, Joseph, you've had a great season, debut season in GB3. So well done. We'll catch up with you at Donington Park.
Any last words?
Hi.
Okay, hi and bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good trip back.
And his mum there. We have Callum Voice in here, who we just need to get the attention of. I think he's going to come in here. I'd be interested to see. I think Callum actually in that race probably did the best. Really got the most places.
Callum, considering we had about 6 corners of race in there, plus 10 places, that's quite good going.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. That was no, I told you yesterday, wasn't it? It was going to be a safety car. So
you did
a few safety cars actually. So no, I mean very happy. Stay out of trouble. I think I only made about 4 or 5 overtakes. The rest was just people crashing. So
you say that. I was stressed at turn 1 because I saw you go in the middle between 2 cars.
Yeah, that was
bold.
risky.
Yeah,
bold as well.
But sometimes bold. Fortune favours the brave.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I had to go for it, but look, I mean, it was just carnage the whole time. I mean, we could barely see anything, especially on that restart. I mean, we both just broke. Well, me and Jack just braked so early because we had no clue where we were going. But
Yeah, cool. Hopefully a bit drier out next time at Donington. Let's look forward to Donington now. Still in the leader championship. Somehow extended the gap in that race. Which you leading the championship coming out of Zandvoort was your primary aim.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after the setback we had in qualifying. I think, if you told me I'd pretty much keep the same same amount of points. I think I'm 13 points in the lead now. So
yes.
I would have been over the moon. So still, obviously, it's not where we want to be. I think, we had a lot more pace than what P7 and P6, but yeah, we made the most in the reverse grid, which is all we could ask for. So yeah, decently happy.
And what about Donington?
I go well at Donington. Yeah, I've got good memories from Donington, so no, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
Brilliant. Well, let's see how it goes at the final round of the season. I'm looking forward to it at least.
Yeah, me too. Nice one, Callum. Thank you very much. We'll let you go and get packed up and get out of here, hopefully dry.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a flight in a bit, so I've got to
go.
Right,
anyway.
You
go. You're absolute baller. Most of us get in a car. He's there flying home.
Well, he's a driver.
He's the championship leader, can't you? Let's get Alex Dunn in now. We'll let you bring in. Alex, I'm going to give you your own mic.
Alex, yes. Alex, you came as this weekend more than a race win behind our championship rival.
Yep.
And you pretty much dominated race 1 and race 2. You must be happy with how the weekend's gone.
Yeah, obviously disappointed to not finish on a high with the reverse grid, but I think, but when we were sitting on the grid before the race, I could have told you that that's exactly how it could have gone with the conditions. So I think to come away with 2 wins in race 1 and race 2 is not too bad.
Almost couldn't have done a huge amount more because again in race 3 we were just chatting to Callum and Joseph. Not a huge amount of green flag running in that one, but I'm assuming you're probably just happy to have finished with a fairly clean. We saw you have a quick trip through the gravel on the safety car.
Yeah, I think the grip. I'm not sure what's changed. Maybe it's the track temp, but from FP to now, even when it was wet in FP, there was no grip. I think when I went off from the safety car, I wasn't even pushing. I just made a little mistake and went off. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I think if we were pushing the whole race, it would have been a lot better because we would have got some temp into the tyres.
Of course.
But yeah, it was a tricky one.
Right, so we've had a good weekend. I'm sure you're happy with how it's gone this time out. You're much closer to the championship lead than we were a few days ago. Let's look ahead to Donington. Donington. Is it going to go well for you? What's your plan? What's your outlook? Is it just maximum attack, consolidate? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see. I seem to have this sort of curse where I can't win when I'm in the UK. So I'll have to wait and see if I can make it happen. Ideally, if I can do the same again there as what I've done here, then yeah, should be.
Final race of the season. Is it then pretty much mano a mano? Nothing, no holding back.
I think if it's whoever beats each other on track in the reverse grid, I think it's definitely you're going to see some chaos. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
It's going to be good for us watching at home regardless. Thank you so much for chatting to us. We look forward to seeing how it goes there.
Nice one. Cheers, Alex. Well, I mean, maybe that race didn't have as much action as we were hoping for. I mean, it had action, but maybe not the action we were hoping for. But look, it's been a great weekend here in Zandvoort, and it all ends next weekend, back-to-back race weekends. Most of these trucks will be heading straight to Donington Park, I imagine, for the final weekend of the GB3 Championship. Piers, this is the last race weekend for you this year because you have prior engagements that you have to go to.
Nice.
But of course, well, that's fine. Me and Lewis will still be there to hold fort. But thank you for all your good work this year. Piers, at Piers Pryor on social media. You'll find him if you want to to find him. Of course, make sure you keep on the GB3 Championship social media as well to check out all the photos, all the behind-the-scenes videos. We've also filmed our predictions as well for what's going to happen next weekend, which I'm sure you'll see throughout the week as well. And join us next Saturday as we bring you the final weekend of the 2023 GB3 Championship.
I'll be watching.